Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 19th episode of Stacking the Box. Iain McMillan here, Sterling Holmes. We are talking NFL, including a lot of storylines based on some extensions and some rule changes that have been proposed over the past couple of days. Sterling, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Things are great over here. Missouri, a 6 seed in the big dance. I'm excited, obviously, to talk some NFL with you, but the March Madness bug is alive and well in this guy in the Missouri Tigers. See that right there? The football, the helmet. Oh yeah, baby. Mizzou is back, and I cannot wait to have my heart broke yet again.
How do you feel about the Tigers? How deep do you have them going?
Sweet Six. Actually, well, it depends. One of them I have them in the Elite Eight, shockingly, which that was not even me trying to be a homer. That was just how they play ball. I think their bracket lines up very well for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And another one I have them, I think, round of 32, losing to. No. It'd be round 16, losing to St. John's.
I have them going to the Elite Eight. So
same.
I'm right there with you.
I'm team offense. I'm team efficiency. I'm team who's up tempo. They are that. I think Drake was. Everyone's talking about Drake. I'm like, have you guys seen Drake play? They look. They can't score.
Hate the Drake.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for him because, all the D2 guys, he won 30 games. He's been McCollum, Northwest Missouri State. It's awesome. Phenomenal storyline. It's just, they could not have got a worse draw against a 6 than the Missouri Tigers. That should have been their nightmare. So we'll see. It's March. Any given day, not Sunday. Any given Thursday in this regard. Either way, at least on paper, I love what Missouri has lined up in front of them.
All right, let's talk some football. We're going to start with your favorite team, the Cincinnati Bengals, who re-signed both Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins to contract extensions this past week. A lot of people felt like they were going to have to move on from Tee Higgins. That was at least the vibe at the end of the season. They have managed to extend both of them, but now the Bengals are in a tough spot where I think 42% of their salary cap is being spent on 3 separate players. That is Burrow, Chase, and Higgins.
And that's prior to, again, they might actually re-sign Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
So I view this 2 different ways. One, all the people that were dunking on Bengals fans for not being able to keep Joe, Ja'Marr, and T together have now all turned face and been like, well, now look how much money they're taking up. It can't be both. Choose a side, people, right? Choose a side, because this is low-hanging fruit. You can dunk on the Bengals either way. If T were to go to a different team, they'd be dunking on Cincinnati. They re-signed Tee Higgins, they're dunking on Cincinnati. Quite frankly, why am I a Chiefs fan, the voice of reason right now? They kept their good players. Is that something that I think they should have done? Maybe not. Would I have kept Tee Higgins? No, I don't think so. But Joe Burrow wanted T. Ja'Marr wanted T. T wanted to be there with that trio. It kind of felt like it was almost a package deal at some point. Joe Burrow talking about how he's saved money and left money on the table, and he's okay adjusting the contract so you can keep the band together. The easy talking points are, well, congratulations, you missed the playoffs last year with this same trio. That's fine and dandy. It wasn't all their fault. They've also not hit on draft picks. That's been the major issue. They have a phenomenal offense. The offensive line struggled. Amarius Mims, 1 more year in the offense on the offensive line. They're going to have to get draft picks right now. The issue is they're not a cash team. They're not the Eagles. They're not a team that's going to spend a lot of money on cash. Okay, so when it comes to the actual cap hit situations, it's not going to look pretty. But I also understand saying, hey, you have one of, if not the best offense in the NFL as far as the trio goes. You almost need to keep those guys together. It makes Joe Burrow happy. You saw what happened the last time around with Carson Palmer. People forget when Carson Palmer was there, he said he would rather retire than play another snap in a Cincinnati Bengal uniform. They're trying to change the narrative. I, for one, again, do I think it's a smart move? Maybe not. Do I also understand where they're coming from, and am I going to dunk on them for it? No, I am not going to dunk on them for it.
Yeah, it's probably a good move, but now they are behind the 8 ball when it comes to fixing the defense, which they do have to find a way to do it. I don't know if it's by getting discount guys. I don't know if it's by hoping they nail the draft this year, but we'll see if they can re-sign Trey Hendrickson. I think that looks like less of a possibility now with them getting Tee Higgins, so we'll see what happens to him. But I mean, this Bengals defense is what cost them their season last year. Bottom 10 defense without question, arguably a bottom 5 defense. and a defense that didn't step up in big moments. So yeah, offense is solved, but now you have to figure out the puzzle of the defense, and there's no easy answer for that the next few months.
Tee Higgins has to stay healthy. That's I think the main concern here with the contract for T. Again, I would not have personally done it, but I understand why. Again, this is multifaceted. It's not just on the field. It's you got to keep Joe happy. You got to keep Ja'Marr happy. You think the money would keep him happy. That's what the money's for, right? That's what the money's for. But end of the day, they like playing together. The offense is not the issue. Now it does put more pressure on the GM to get the defense right. You've already tried an overhaul, though. You fired Lou Anarumo. We'll see what happens defensively overall going forward. But I just don't like the people who are dunking on the Bengals because they re-signed their wide receiver 2 when the entire offseason before this was talked about how they're going to lose them. I just think it's soft. I mean, let me ask you this. Are they a better team with Tee Higgins or without Tee Higgins?
With Tee Higgins, obviously.
Of course. So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, there's always ways to circumvent the cap. The Chiefs, again, were in a similar situation, and they walked on Tyreek Hill, and they ended up going to 3 straight Super Bowls. That was the right decision for them. What will the right decision be for the Bengals? Time will tell, but again, they're built differently than Kansas City. They've not drafted as well as Kansas City, and I don't think Joe Burrow is an elevator like Patrick Mahomes is.
Man, there's nothing you do better than turning every conversation into how good the Chiefs are.
Because it's
it cracks me up. No matter what we're talking about,
similar situation we could talk about here.
No matter what we talk about, by the end of your point, you have to find a way to bring in about how good the Chiefs are. We get it. The Chiefs are great.
The point was the Chiefs had a similar situation, only 1 wide receiver versus 2, but they walked.
Yeah.
The point was they got the draft picks. They hit on those draft picks, which then culminated in 3 straight Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins.
Certainly.
And also, I think the difference is they had a Travis Kelce and they had Patrick Mahomes, who I think is an elevator, the best in the NFL. I think Joe Burrow is a damn good quarterback. I think he's probably the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. But I don't think he is a quote-unquote elevator the way that Patrick, Josh Allen, or maybe even Lamar Jackson really are. Okay? I'm not saying he's not as good as Lamar. I'm saying it's a little different. I think because if you trusted Joe Burrow that much, if you say he is the best quarterback, you can get Yosevich out there and he can be our wide receiver 2 now. Well, then you walk.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. Also, there's something that Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have that Joe Burrow doesn't, and that's the ability to run. So because Joe Burrow is, I know like he can kind of scamper, but he is kind of the best example of a pocket passer in the NFL right now. I think a guy like him needs weapons more so than some of the other guys can or need to. Yeah.
And in fairness to him, again, this is not trying to be bleep Joe Burrow right now. Again, I think he's the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. He needs a better offensive line.
Yeah.
Because he can't move. He's great at maneuvering in the pocket. He has that Tom Brady, almost Aaron Rodgers ability to move around the pocket. But he doesn't have the Patrick, the Lamar, or the Josh to where, okay, there's a guy right here. He can make him miss. Joe's not going to make that guy miss as consistently as the other 3, which, again, you're going to need a Marius Mims to be the guy. If you were the Bengals, you're going to have to spend some draft capital on guard play. Alex Kappa was brutal last year. Alex Kappa's no longer on the team, though. You shouldn't even have that to fall back on. The Bengals, again, what it comes down to is they got to get this draft pick right. The 6 draft picks that they have in this upcoming draft, they need to hit on. They don't need to get superstars, but they need useful players in 5 out of the 6. That's going to be a tough task.
Swiss Mr. Casey in the chat says, hey, the Chiefs similarity does stop with having a couple superstars, front office, other 55 players, little different than the Bengals. Obviously, completely different organizations. He says, I get both your points. You need Burrow happy. Absolutely. It's the Bengals, whatever it is. Whatever is there to be happy about, give him his toys. I agree. I'm not arguing against the signing. Sterling, you did just remind me of something I wanted to bring up last week, but you were off, so it was me and Cody. Just your true professionalism when we do this show, and instead of cursing, you say bleep, which I love. It's one of my favorite things about you. We were texting about how the Bears stole players from both of our teams, and you responded, Bears taking both our guys, shake my head, bleep them. You can't even, over like a personal text, you can't even write out a swear. You got to write out bleep in a text.
I do sports talk radio every single day in Kansas City, so the FCC is going to come after me if I do that. So it's become part of my vernacular.
I respect it. You are a true professional.
You get like one shit a month. You get one of those.
You just use yours.
You can say ass. I think you can say bastard in certain context. But there's certain words you can't.
I love that translates into your personal texts. Bleep them. I had a good chuckle when he sent me that text. Hey, all right, let's move on. Lane Johnson signed an extension with the Eagles. Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the Eagles had to let some guys go on defense, but I think kind of signing Lane Johnson to another year is going to be a big part, because now I think basically their entire offense they have to sign through 2027, I believe. So
yeah, the Eagles are going to be good yet again. Plus, they draft well. I know every single draft is different. Every single draft class is going to have different strengths, different weaknesses. But the Eagles have done a really good job of replenishing talent. So when everyone always talks about, well, how are they able to afford all these guys? Well, you had 2 cornerbacks you got elite production from on rookie deals. You had Zach Bond last year on a cheap free agent contract. Now you're paying him this year. But Jalen Carter and all these players, they've done a better job than most, and they get out in front of the contracts early with a lot of these dudes. Jordan Mailata, when he signed his contract, everyone said, oh my gosh, what a crazy deal. And then you look at it in the landscape of the NFL and you go, oh wow, that's all he's getting paid? The Eagles do a really good job of getting out in front of contracts and guys early. Very smart, very astute. They understand the salary cap is going to rise. Getting Lane Johnson again, one more year, or at least another year extension in Philly. One of the best offensive lines in football. That's massive.
We were just talking about Joe Burrow there a couple minutes ago. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins to be featured in season 2 of Netflix's Quarterback was just announced. I believe Kirk Cousins was part of the first one, right? And I didn't watch it, but I think a lot of people came away with positive thoughts about Kirk Cousins afterwards. And now Falcons fans aren't happy that he's part of the season 2 of the Netflix doc, because that's going to be tough.
Yeah, Joe Burrow will be fun. Jared Goff will be great. Kirk Cousins, I don't get. He was already in the first one. They're just going to run it back?
Wasn't Jared Goff in the first one too, or no?
No, it was Marcus Mariota.
Why do they keep going to Falcons quarterbacks?
Good call.
I think Kirk, I didn't watch it, but based on what I've heard people talk about it, Kirk came off as the most likable of the bunch. So maybe they thought, hey, maybe we'll bring back one constant to try to get people to come back and watch it, the most likable guy from the season before. But
he was great.
I got a feeling he's not going to be likable in this season.
No, he was great the first time around. He was very easy to root for.
You watched it? You watched season 1?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not a big fan of these sports documentaries or sports series about current teams, because I feel like I follow sports enough that I don't need to watch a documentary about it. I feel like I lived it. And if anything notable is in it, then I'll find out about it on Twitter.
Fair.
Whereas the one that came out during COVID, the Bulls Dream Team, that was long enough ago that it's fun to watch. The Tom Brady documentary came out a year after he retired. It's he just played. I don't need to watch this.
Give it a decade.
Right. Correct. At least, if not 20 years. Sterling, the main thing I want to talk to you about on this episode is the proposed rule changes over the past couple of days by a few teams. Let's start with the one that I think is the most interesting and the one that I think is going to be a topic over the next few years of the NFL season, including once it inevitably goes to an 18-week season. And that is the Detroit Lions proposed a change to the seeding in the NFL, whereas instead of division winners automatically getting the higher seeds in the playoffs, it actually goes by just whatever team has the highest seed or has the better record gets the higher seed, which pretty much completely eliminates, I guess by this, the division winner is still guaranteed a playoff spot at least, but it lowers the importance of winning your division by a bit.
Yeah, this has been a talking point for decades. I mean, it goes back to the Marshawn Lynch Seahawks, weren't they 7-9?
7-9, yeah, the Beastquake, yeah.
I get it. There was actually a proposal for this in 2023 with the Chargers, and it got hardly any support. I mean, it was shot down fairly quick. Chargers, obviously, because that was in 2023 with the Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs had a stranglehold on the 1 seed, so they're basically saying, hey, if we go 12-5 versus the team going 10-7, we feel like we should get the advantage. I kind of like how it's set up personally. I think the only caveat I'd throw in there is if you have to go at least 500, which you would have to go, and now it's easier. You have to go 9-8. And then I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get why the Lions would want this, because you have the Packers, the Lions, the Bears are getting better. The Vikings, we all expect to take a pretty large step backwards. But I don't have a current issue with it. Win your division.
Right.
Win your division. It's almost like March Madness to an extent, where it's like West Virginia complaining about not being in. Dog, it's 68 teams. 68. I know 45 basically, or 43, whatever it is, because of the automatic qualifiers. Win more games. If you want home field advantage for the playoffs, win more games. You want to host a game? Yeah. Win more games. It's the same setup for every single team. Just because right now in the year 2025 that's coming up, you think the NFC North is going to be very difficult and a lot of good playoff teams. What about in 2028? What about in 2035 when the NFC is down and you win it going 9-8, and now all of a sudden you're on the road? I don't know. I like the way it's currently set up personally. Again, the only caveat I have is I think you should have to go 500.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I do agree with that. I like the way it's set up now. I don't like this whole thing where it's like everyone needs it all to be 100% fair 100% of the time, because I don't even think that would work either. Because like if you completely get rid of division winners having the top seed, there's going to be a situation where, okay, the second seed is a wild card team who had the next best record, but then the argument's going to be, yeah, but that team had an easier schedule. So then now you have to try to make the schedule as absolutely fair as possible, which I don't think mathematically you can. And then even if you do that, it's like, yeah, you play the Bengals when Joe Burrow was healthy. Our team played the Bengals when he was hurt. That's not fair either. Like, there's just no way that you can make a schedule and a playoff seeding 100% fair. It's best just to keep it this way.
Agreed.
There's a tweet by Adam Chernoff. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a little bit, he's in the betting world. He responded to this tweet about the Lions saying, eliminate the divisions. The NFL would be better off and more entertaining without them. I could not disagree more with that take.
That is one of the worst takes. Of all the takes, that is one.
Now, he is a betting guy. He's an analytical guy. His reasoning is based off, and I'll read his follow-up tweet just to be fair here. Before the uproar, tradition and quote rivalry games could still exist without them. I'd also argue that some of the best rivalries in the league right now are interdivisional to begin with. More freedom and strength of schedule would benefit the league as a whole and make more rivalries. I don't know to say this for sure, but I don't think he's a fan of any team. And that sounds like a take of a guy who's not really a fan of any team. He's just kind of a fan of betting and a fan of the NFL. So he wants to, like, statistically make strength of schedule as fair as possible.
Those are brutal people to have in regards to get them as far away from the NFL as possible.
Because, well, I don't agree. I mean, yeah, I don't agree with that. But
no. Sorry, Ian. You can bet, but if your entire outlook
right
on the NFL is betting.
Well, sorry, he didn't mention betting in this. That this is me.
No.
That's my takeaway. But that's what I assume the angle he's coming from, because he wants every team to have as fair shot as possible as making the playoffs, and he feels like because every team in their division has to play, like, you already have 6 games locked in, then it's not necessarily that they're not getting the same fair shot as other teams. So if you just get rid of divisions, you can make strength of schedule a lot more even, and then everyone has more of a fair shot of making the playoffs.
Debatable, because in a lot of those teams, let's say the NFC South, when 9-8 wins it, they would not have a single chance of making the playoffs then, they would have no chance because they couldn't win their division. When the Seahawks made it going 7-9, they would have missed the playoffs. They would not have been in. So that's a horrible take.
Right. So he thinks if you're 7-9, you shouldn't be in the playoffs then.
Sure, but they won their division.
But he's saying he's saying get rid of divisions.
Hosting a playoff game.
Right, but he's saying that's why you should get rid of divisions completely.
I think he's wrong.
Oh, I agree. I think it is the take of a guy who's not a diehard fan of a team, because if you're a diehard fan of a team, you look forward to those divisional games. Those divisional games get you fired up. You love the rivalries. You love that. I love that I play the Saints twice a year. I love that those games are more important. I responded to the tweet saying the current structure makes divisional games more important, which in turn makes them more exciting. Getting rid of divisions effectively makes the importance of every game the same. NBA got rid of the importance of divisions, and the product has been hurt because of it, which is true. The NBA divisions don't matter anymore because they got rid of the seeding, and now it's, in my opinion, hurt the product and hurt the viewership a little bit.
Agreed. And by the way, then how would it get set up? You know how it's like the team that got the 1 seed plays the one in the other one. So for example, it'd be the Chiefs playing the Bills, playing the Ravens. You know my point, right? They play a 1 schedule versus a 2 versus a 3 versus a 4, where you finish in the division. Would you just all of a sudden say, again, not trying to bring it to the Chiefs, but they just play the top 16 teams? That's dumb.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I don't know how he envisions the schedule then be made. And also, like, the best you can do is base the schedule off of last year's results. But the issue is every team is different from what they were last year. So you can't base it off just last year's record. So then what are you going to do? Like, make up some kind of subjective ranking based on how teams finished last year, plus what they did in the offseason, plus what new players they drafted, plus what new acquisitions they made? It's impossible.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Bad take, guy.
But I think as we approach, like I said, we're going to have 18 game schedule. I think this conversation is going to get brought up more and more. What's Swiss saying in the chat? What's he saying about Kirk? Kirk Cousins likely picked again because he has a huge chance of getting a midseason trade on a starter. No, this was filmed last year. Like, this is coming out. Swiss. I assume if they're making a third season, I assume Kirk's probably not going to be part of the third season. The other rules that were proposed, the big ones, are the Packers proposed to ban the tush push. I think we both agree with this, that it shouldn't be.
Oh, we're going back and forth.
Oh,
when I saw the Washington playoff game, I thought, okay, I get it. Let's ban the tush push. Let's stop it. It's dumb. It's you can award a touchdown now. They're doing this. Washington's trying to do the same thing the Eagles are doing. They're just taking advantage of a loophole in the rule. That's what you're doing. Both teams are doing it. The issue I have with banning it is, where does it stop? Can you no longer push a running back from behind? Right? Can the offensive lineman, can he no longer push the running back forward? Like, I think it'd be too difficult to enforce. It's putting more judgment calls into the referee's hands. More penalties, I think, would be thrown.
So let me say what the actual wording of the change of the rule would be, because it does address that. It says to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate, so it could be any position, who is lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. So that wouldn't have to do anything with pushing a running back down the field. Even you could push a running back if the quarterback hands it off to the running back. It only would ban if the first player to touch the snap, if they're lined up directly behind the center, you can't push them.
I guess my pushback, though, is what difference is that than pushing a running back or a wide receiver who's on the field? I get the wording of it. I'm saying, but what's like?
Because there's a timing difference. It wouldn't be immediate. Like, there's a 0.5 seconds between when the quarterback would have the ball and then hand it to the running back.
Sure. It does feel very. I don't like the play. First and foremost, I think it's unfun to watch. It's boring. But part of me also is like, you're just penalizing the Eagles for being so good at it. That's basically what you're doing. You're penalizing a specific team because they are so good.
Right. If every single team did it and did it to the same success as the Eagles, then I would say yes, ban it. But not one team has figured out how to do it. The Bills got stopped by the Chiefs like 5 times in the AFC Championship.
It was incredible. But in the regular season, the Bills were, I believe, more efficient.
But no team has stopped the Eagles. Am I wrong?
When
Was
it
there
really
a team that
matters,
figured
no.
it out how to stop the Eagles?
When it really matters, no.
Yeah. So because it's specifically that, oh, that's right. Yeah. The Jaguars stopped it once or twice in the regular season still.
My point, when it really matters. The Chiefs
Yeah.
were able to stop the Bills when it really mattered. No one has stopped the Eagles when it really matters.
Right. So unless it's a thing that other teams can also do, then I don't think you can ban it because it's, yeah, they figured out how to do it the best possible form of it, and that's good on them. Because if it's just simply an exploit, then every other team would be able to do it. But it's obviously a personnel plus an exploit.
I think it's dumb. I hate watching the play, but I think it's too punitive for one specific team if you ban it.
Yep. And the other rule change was the Eagles proposed change to the overtime rules. They are proposing for the playoff overtime rules to be used in the regular season, which I agree with. I don't know why it's not like that to begin with.
As a fan, I love it. I guess the thought process is the players maybe that's playing more exertion on their body, more minutes on their. They're not getting extra pay for it, right? So with a players association want to pass this, that might be a talking point as well. As a fan, you want it. As a fan, you hate the possibility of a tie game or of just not getting an opportunity.
Happened to the Falcons twice in overtime this year.
Again,
one in the most important game of the season for us.
Yeah. I would like to see it as a fan, but I guess I understand the thought process of leaving it as is, which makes, again, the postseason playoff rules even more exciting. I don't know.
It just makes I don't like it because it puts so much importance behind a coin flip. Like when your team's in the regular season and they lose the overtime coin flip, you're like, oh, we're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Again, the fan in me says 100% this would make the product better.
Swiss asks, any kickoff rule changes? I'd heard rumblings, but I haven't heard anything about the kickoff. Because I think this is a separate thing. I think they vote on whether or not they want to keep it at a separate date. I think this was just for proposal of new rules, I believe. So we'll see. Chiefs signed Gardner Minshew to back up Mahomes. Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
I saw your picture on Twitter. You love it.
I love it. Backup QBU, baby. It's
a great backup.
It's what Andy Reid and the Chiefs like. They like having veterans who have played a lot of games as their backup quarterback. Anytime you think they're going to go younger, they don't. It's always like, hey, will they draft a guy and develop him behind Patrick just so you have a cheap, rookie contract quarterback there, a guy that Patrick can teach. And Andy basically just been like, nope, we're just going to go with the veterans, Matt Moore, Chad Henne, Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Blaine Gabbert. It doesn't matter. The list goes on and on. He just enjoys having that veteran backup quarterback, which is totally fine. And I like Gardner Minshew. I think that vibe guy, obviously. I think if the Chiefs, God forbid, have an injury to Patrick for a couple games, you trust Gardner Minshew to come in. I also wonder if he's going to help, throw the ball down the field. I'm not saying in games. I'm saying like in practice. Like, hey, Patrick, remember when you used to do this? I don't have nearly the arm you have, and I'm still going to try and force the ball down the field. Almost a mindset change. Just saying, hey, dude, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. I love Gardner Minshew. He's fun to watch. Overall, I like the move for KC, but I hope we don't have to see him. Although I will point out, pretty much any stop he's been at has been bad news for the starting quarterback.
Yeah, true. He's gotten a lot of chances. The guy that's
Nick Foles
back up in several different spots. Yeah,
Jacksonville. Nick Foles immediately gets injured. First game against the Chiefs, broken clavicle. He comes in with the Colts, with the Raiders instead of Aiden. Like just the list goes on and on of the amount of injuries of guys to QB1 that he's had to come in and step in for. So it's kind of a ominous foreshadowing, if you will.
Are him and Carson Steele going to become friends? Because I feel like they would.
Yeah, if Carson Steele's still on the roster. I feel like Carson Steele's going to be a practice squad guy this year if he makes it. The Chiefs' running back room was brutal last year, and he still didn't get any opportunity.
All right. Should the 49ers consider trading Christian McCaffrey? He's a highly paid running back, or highly paid running backs are great for teams on the cusp of contending. 49ers might not be there anymore. He'll be 29 when the season starts, coming off a serious lower leg injury. Thoughts on if the 49ers should consider trading Christian McCaffrey?
No, because what do you get for him?
Yeah, not
You're
much.
probably not even getting a seventh.
Get something.
A seventh?
You think that's it?
Oh, yeah. For the contract that Christian McCaffrey's on with the injury history at this point?
Especially with the amount of guys they've already had let walk. You can't let all those guys walk and then trade away Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
it's like you let all those guys walk so you can still afford the Christian McCaffreys.
I don't think you're getting anything from McCaffrey, and I think the 49ers are a bounce-back team this year. Obviously, I think the market would indicate that as well.
I agree. And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a bounce-back year.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it makes no sense. You're selling it as absolutely low as possible on a guy who you're counting on your entire team to have a bounce-back season. If you trade McCaffrey, it almost indicates to the team as well that, hey, we're punting this year. I'm not saying you actually are, but I think that would be a indication. I would be surprised if the Niners did it for a multitude of reasons.
Also, I mean, the past couple of years have shown that a very good running back in the right situation can help a team win a championship. McCaffrey 2 years ago obviously didn't win against the Chiefs, but overtime in the Super Bowl, and then Saquon Barkley this past year. So McCaffrey's one of two running backs. I guess maybe you can put in Derrick Henry, but he hasn't done it yet. So one of two running backs that can really help a team, take that next step. I don't think you can't trade him.
And I don't know what his dead cap situation looks like. I mean, are you eating money if you trade him? Which, again, would go to the camp of no.
I mean, maybe if next year the 49ers are getting close to the trade deadline, they're 2-6.
Yeah, sure.
And McCaffrey has looked good and you can get something for him. Maybe. Not right now, though. Aaron Rodgers. PSA for NFL casuals. Aaron Rodgers' touchdown interception ratio does not mean he was good in 2024. Yeah, it's true. A lot of touchdowns that he threw this past season. He actually had the same amount of touchdown passes as Josh Allen, more than Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. But all those quarterbacks I just listed would have made the Jets better than he did. I'm sick of Aaron Rodgers. Can we stop talking about Aaron Rodgers? I don't care what team he goes to. He stinks. He's washed. I called it before last season. I don't care that he's thrown a ton of touchdown passes. The Jets threw the ball a ton when they got down to the red zone. That's all that tells me. He's not the guy he used to be. He never will be the guy that he used to be. He physically can't do it anymore. He's mentally checked out. He's not responding to teams. He's not giving teams any kind of indication. He says he wants to play for the Vikings. The Vikings are like, why? We don't want you whatsoever. We have J.J. McCarthy. Why would we want you in our locker room? It's a mess. I don't care. Retire. I'm done.
I don't know why we're even putting this on the show sheet. You say you don't want to talk about it, yeah, you put it on there. I'm content not talking about it. I am so over it. Until he actually signs, I do not care.
All right, we will end on this with the news of Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins re-signing with the Bengals. Are they the best wide receiver duo in the NFL? Who comes close?
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith for the Eagles comes close. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, I think, come close. I'd say that the best duo in the NFL, though, Ja'Marr and T. If you want to throw in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, I guess, but that's more or less because of Justin Jefferson, although Addison's really, really good. You also have, Naylor, who's a fine wide receiver 3. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What you'd have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks?
No, what? No.
I don't know. DK Metcalf and George Pickens now?
Yeah, kind of. If they can not kill each other, yeah, I guess so. That'd be decent.
What's the other one? Garrett Wilson. Well, no, because Devontae Adams is gone.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, the answer is Ja'Marr and T.
Yes, Ja'Marr and T is the answer if both of them are healthy, especially Tee Higgins. But I mean, if you're gonna list CeeDee Lamb and whatever bum he plays across with, you gotta at least say Drake London and Darnell Mooney.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? They're not even Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy.
Okay, well, Darnell Mooney had 900. He was 8 yards short of 1,000 yards this season. And he missed a game. So
congratulations. Do you want to?
Well, how many wide receiver duos have both guys have over 1,000 yards? Last year.
What did Waddle get last year?
Who?
Waddle for Miami.
Oh, nothing.
Him and Tyreek.
Nope. I don't even know if Tyreek got 1,000 last year.
Last year, I bet Wilson and Adams went over 1,000, but they're no longer.
Garrett Wilson got 1,100. Devontae Adams, no way.
I think it was. I'll say 1,008 for Devontae. I bet he just got it.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he had 1,063. So yes, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams did. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith did not. He had 833. T. Higgins actually didn't, obviously, because he was hurt too much last year.
What about Addison and Jefferson?
Addison fell short, 875.
Because he missed games too last year. Forget about that.
Yep. So I think if you actually combine the receiving yards for the top 2 receivers for every team, you just go purely off receiving yards. I think it actually was Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
But Drake London had 200 yards more than 170 more than Garrett. That would be pretty close. But yeah, then obviously there's guys who are hurt, so you can't really just go based off that. St. Brown and Jameson Williams both had over 1,000. Is that correct? Jameson had 1,001. Producer Sean, correct. 1,001. So actually, if you combine receiving yards, that would be the leading duo receiver based on yards. Would be Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. 1,001.
Would not have thought Jameson Williams. He was really good last year. He was great last year. But I still would have put him down for 850.
Yeah.
Maybe 9, maybe crested the 9. No, good for Jameson, man.
He only had 58 catches. He just had, how many yards did he average per catch?
18?
17.3 yards per catch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. Have you started looking, draft is coming up obviously next month. I don't think I'm here for the draft. Will you all live stream the draft again this year? So ask Swiss in the chat. Iain, real-time Falcons first round is some of the most memorable content in 2024. I will be. That's a Thursday, right?
I believe so. Yes.
I'm flying back from Vegas that day, so I should get there in time for, I guess, the draft if the flights are okay. So yeah, I will be in rough shape. But I guess we haven't decided if we're doing a live stream. If we do, I'll be in rough shape. But I guess as long as my flight doesn't get delayed, I'll be able to be there.
Love it. But yeah, as far as the draft is concerned, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the draft time is always fun. Good teams, bad teams, doesn't matter. This is one of the events that everyone is excited for, right? Because playoffs, you're like, okay, season's over. I don't care about the playoffs anymore if my team's not in it. Week 13, the Raiders were like, yeah, I don't care anymore. We're not in it. Draft though, everyone's 0-0. Everyone thinks they have a chance as long as they get their guy. Everyone has a few guys that they point to and say, if only my team gets this player, all of our woes are fixed. Yeah, dude, I'm excited about the draft. It's not the deepest draft in the world as far as I don't think top end talent, but I think there's a lot of really good pieces, a lot of useful players. There's not really any quarterback that I think is gonna change the game. There's no Patrick or Josh or Joe or Lamar, but no one knew about Patrick or Josh or Lamar. Sometimes guys that you might not think about turn into said dudes. I think this is a good running back class, which is kind of fun and enjoyable to watch. A lot of bigger names that will be going earlier on. Wide receiver, there's been a wide array of players as far as they could go as high as 5 and as low as 31. Even second round guys. Yeah, I'm excited, man. A lot of fun here.
I believe it's a good pass rusher draft as well, correct?
Well, yeah, you guys top with Abdul Carter, who's obviously just an absolute freak. You have some fun storylines with obviously, Travis Hunter, wide receiver versus cornerback. What's he going to be? Tackle play. There's not really a left tackle in this draft class.
So have you looked into the prospects a little bit? I haven't yet. I don't until after March Madness. I'm too busy.
I watch college football. So a lot's just from that as well. But yeah, I've been doing a little bit of a dive. You have guys like Armand Mimbu for Mizzou, who's been going up draft boards because of his athletic profile. You've guys falling, again, also from Mizzou, like Luther Burden, who before the season started was a top 5 consensus draft pick, who's now, is he going to even be drafted in the first round? You have Ted McMillan from Arizona, who's just a freak. We interviewed him down there in New Orleans this year, who's enjoyable. We'll see what happens there. Ashton Genty, how high does he go as a running back? There's some fun stories. I mean, Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders. Which team is going to hitch their wagons to guys who I think have a lot of questions about both of those players.
All right, we'll end on this question then. Who is the safest draft prospect in your opinion? Safest.
Oh, man.
Last year, I believe, is Joe Alt, and I think that was kind of proven.
Joe Alt was the correct choice. What's it? Tyler Warren for Penn State, tight end.
Ooh, tight end.
If you're going to go that route.
I feel like the safest is always, like almost always, an offensive tackle.
Well, I could say Armin Mimbu from Mizzou, but I still think he's kind of raw. Like, and is he going to play left side or right side? If you play right side, I'd say, yeah, Armand Mimbu. I like his chances. And I also think the offensive line, though, outside of Alt, typically, even if you're a top 20 guy, that first year is rough for a lot of offensive tackles. It's rough for those guys. Man, that's a good question. I don't want to say Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or those guys. I'll say floor. I'll say it. I think Luther Burden.
Okay. Talk to me about Luther Burden. Who's he?
Wide receiver from Missouri. Was a top 5 guy, 5-star recruit. This year he was a massive decoy in the Missouri offense, but Brady Cook was not a great guy getting him the ball down the field. He was pretty much used as a decoy. He had a couple of blow-ups on the sideline in regards to not getting the football, but overall only glowing things have been said about him. No off-the-field issues. He is, in my opinion, a phenomenal route runner. He is incredible at tracking the ball, but he's really good at yard after catch. And that's why I think his floor is pretty high, because if you can be a good route runner and you are good with yak, then you have a high floor. So do I say he's going to be a 1,300-plus yard receiver? No. But can he be a consistent 900-plus yard wide receiver? Would you take that in the first round? My answer is yes. That's what I think of as safe. Where's the variance? I think he's a very high floor, and that's why I'd say he's safe.
If nothing else, you are loyal to your Missouri and Kansas City guys.
Do what I can, baby.
Yeah. All right, that is the episode. Thank you for watching and listening. Good luck to everyone's March Madness bracket. Do you got your bracket filled out?
Oh, yeah, baby. I'm
Final
excited.
four. Give me your final four.
Oh, I have Florida, Duke. I know, going out on a limb there.
It's chalky. It's going to be a chalky year.
Yeah, it just feels like Florida and Duke had good routes. Michigan State. And what's the one from the South? It may have been Gonzaga. I think it may have been Gonzaga.
Okay.
Because I think they beat Houston.
I got Houston, Duke, Auburn, but then Maryland. I have them going on a little bit of a dark horse run.
Yeah, Maryland, Clemson, Gonzaga. I think those 3 teams could be the surprise. Like if you had to say a 4-seed or lower, who do you think could be the biggest surprise teams? I think Maryland. I think Gonzaga for sure. They're in the trapezoid of excellence.
I'm out on Gonzaga.
And then Clemson. Clemson has a lot of analytical numbers that scream they're good, although the ACC's buns. So I don't know how much I enjoy hitching a wagon to an ACC team. Although North Carolina.
Yep, looked good last night.
Although guess what? They're still 1-12 in quad 1 games because that was technically a quad 2 victory.
Correct. All right. Subscribe to Stacking the Box on YouTube. Rate and review the audio version of this podcast. We'll be back next week and every week at 5 p.m. Eastern. Talk to you then.